guys ready? Good evening. Today is Tuesday, November 8th, 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachman.
Here.
Councilmember Beaton.
Here.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Here.
Mayor Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Pratt.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski.
Here.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Here.
Police Chief.
Here.
City Attorney.
Here.
DPW Director.
Here.
Finance Director.
Here.
Fire Chief.
Here.
City Engineer.
Here.
Roll call complete.
Thank you. Citizens' comments on agenda-related items. Consent agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are on the consent agenda and considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to approval, any member of city council may have an item removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Items include approval of minutes, cash balances, revenue and expenses, notification regarding next study session. At this time, council could take action to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachman.
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Now we will have a presentation by Ken Talsma of Anderson Tackman on the June 30th, 2023 audit.
First off, thanks for having me here to present the 2023 audit. That's a hard copy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, Ken Talsma, the principal in charge of performing financial audit and single audit for 2023 for the city. Had to have the last several years, besides having the financial audit, having a single audit because of the federally backed loans from the USDA for the different water and sewer projects. So with these audits, we look at evidence and try to support the financial information. And evidence can range from the different source documents like bank statements and invoices and receipt copies and contracts and agreements. We'll also confirm things with outside parties you do business with directly between them and us to make sure that everything lines up. We test day-to-day transactions, test the systems, test different policies and procedures that kind of govern the day-to-day way things are done to make sure that the systems and controls are at least meeting the state's minimum requirements to make sure that you have the checks and balances and approvals and all those things to be able to summarize and collect that information on a reasonable and accurate basis. So after doing all these different procedures and comparisons and asking a lot of questions, and also we move around a lot, look at different areas of the city all the time, and we give our opinion, and we always say there's always the one of four. When we give our opinion on the page of the audit report, I believe it's page 1 now, they like to move everything around on our opinion letters every so often. And we're kind of at a good point now, and with the letter, it's the first thing now called opinions, and they say there's the 4 kinds. There's an adverse, which means there are issues getting evidence compared to the information, and we can't reconcile that with the city. There's a disclaimer when there isn't information. There's a modified opinion, which usually means a lot of things are correct and checked out fine, but there might be an area or two that are weak. And then last, there's the unmodified, which means as far as the presentation of financial information and following the different U.S. accounting principles and government standards, everything checked out fine. And that's what the city of Manistee received for 2023 is the unmodified, or some people call it the clean opinions. So that's what everyone works to get, and that's what you got for 2023. Also, with the single audit, we said if you get more than $750,000 of federal grants a year, or you're in your case also secured loans from the USDA, we have to do one of those, and that requires us to look at what you spent the money on. Was it on allowable costs? Was it on following the cost principles? There's reporting requirements. There's special requirements to make sure that certain things are done for the grant, and all that checked out fine too. And that was also a clean opinion on that too. So that turned out well. The next thing we can look at is the graphs which are pulled up. So this kind of helps us kind of see the financial changes between years. The first one shows the different assets of the city. So like most cities, your second biggest categories like your cash and investments, which have stayed pretty consistent between the years. You can also have receivables for different billings for the water and sewer systems, receivables called due from the government for grants, prepaid items like insurance that's prepaid, and inventory, different materials that are on hand at the end of the year that have value. Then the biggest category is the capital assets. Obviously, cities have a lot of infrastructure, streets, sidewalks, water sewer system, marinas, different things that allow you to give value or provide use to the citizens of the city. So nothing really too dramatically changing in the assets of the city. The next graph shows the liabilities, and of course, usual ones are the accounts payable, which is due to the vendors at the end of the year, customer deposits, which are usually money held by people become customers of the water and sewer systems. They have to have usually, whether it's a $100, $200 up front to be able to become customers. Pension liability, which did increase this year for you, and it's increased for all the cities. Most are in MERS, most are in that have defined benefit pension plans, have had that liability increase largely because of the decline in the stock market. It's gotten a little bit better recently, but at the point in time when this measured, it was down quite a bit. So with that change, you can get better or worse at any point in time with the stock market. And then also the obligation can be affected by different things like the different assumptions, the different returns, expected returns on it. So you can have the reduction in the stock market plus the liability can have factors too that make it higher. Also, big category is the bonds payable largely for the water and sewer systems. I think overall we had, with the continued work done on the water and sewer systems, that went up around almost $4 million in bonds payable. Vested employee benefits is what's due to employees when they leave employment for sick and vacation time or paid time off. And then you also have deferred inflows, which are kind of like deferred gains, and you also can have deferred outflows, which are with assets that are kind of deferred changes that relate to the pension plan that don't automatically make a change in the year they happen. They usually are amortized and written against the pension obligation over the service period of the employees in the pension plan. So those are held kind of like in assets and liabilities and kind of expensed or written to that liability over that lifetime. So not anything other than the pension plan that really changed too much. I think of our expectations, and we knew with the bonds, again with the continued projects going on, that would be increasing. Then the third graph shows your net worth for the city, and we always have the three big categories. A lot of it's in the invested in capital assets, again with having so much in infrastructure and buildings. So a lot of that claim after, of course, related debt is your net worth, and those called investment capital assets. You can also have restricted, which are usually things that are put on the city by an outside organization, whether it be by law or by statute, or if there's millage money, or if there's money on hand for future construction for the water sewer systems that's drawn down. These things have got to be kept in a separate bucket and make sure that they're used for those things moving forward. It can't be commingled with the general money and used for the day-to-day, every day operations. It's got to be kind of kept for its purpose. And then what's left is the unrestricted, it's landed about 1.6 million this year. Overall, the net position hasn't changed too much, just some movement between the restricted and unrestricted. The next graph kind of shows the revenues of the city on its government funds. Obviously, one of the biggest parts of it is tax money. I think for the large part, your tax revenues have been maybe making around maybe a 2.5%, 3% increase each year in the base. I think the millages, the rates themselves haven't changed, but your base has stayed pretty healthy and kind of slowly and smallly moved in the right direction. A lot of other big sources are your state sources. Revenue sharing is a big part of that. The street funds, major and local, get Act 51 money, so that's a big part of the budget. And then charge of services is also significant. These are the different fees charged at departments of the city directly related to their functions. The investment earnings also was kind of interesting last year with the market. We kind of had some unrealized losses, and this year kind of that got better, which is largely in the oil and gas funds. So we kind of had a better turnout for the oil and gas in 22 versus last year. Otherwise, the revenues were pretty comparable. The fifth page shows the expenses of the government funds in the areas of general government, public safety, public works. Now, the state of Michigan requires us to report functional expenses, which is what we call general government, public safety, and those will hold a lot of other departments of the city, like general government holds the treasurer, clerk's department, finance, like things like elections, assessor and things. Public safety up, like police, fire, public works is the DPW. I think economic development is a new category. The state wanted broken out this year. It used to be, I think, in public safety, I think it's the building and zoning costs. Rec and culture, which is usually things like library, park expenses. And then other expenditures is usually different remaining fringes and insurance costs and appropriations to other governments in the city. And then capital outlay also is a big part of the budget. You get about 2.2 million in that area, and that is, of course, buying any large fixed assets, capital assets for use in the city. And that fluctuates based on your capital needs plan. We also have a graph kind of showing the water and sewer operations for the year. They mostly live off the charges for the system. Water and sewer funds are what they call enterprise funds. They're supposed to be designed to be self-sufficient and have their fee structure developed to cover their costs and operate and provide water and sewer to the citizens. Sometimes you can also get state grants for different facets, like I think they had a different SAW grant at one time and different engineering grants and things like that to help do capital things in the future. And then you can also have other revenue. But for the large part, it's charges that support the system. Then we also have the expenses, starting on the next graph, and personnel services, obviously the salaries and fringes of the people working in the system. Contractor services, insurance costs, administration, supplies and communications. Now, the personnel services, I usually point out there's been a big increases in wages or fringes per se, but there's often a shift between the costs in the water and sewer to the street funds, and based on, because a lot of the people that will work in both, so they'll be utilized in different areas, so we'll have usually the costs move up and down between wherever they're spending their time. So that's usually why that can bump up. It's not that there's been any pay increases or anything like that. The second graph is a continuation of the expenses. Utilities, rent, I think we broke out this year as its own expense according to the state's chart of account.
What kind of stuff do we rent for that kind of money? I see no number the 2 years before that.
Right, because it was in,
I got help coming up behind you.
So the water and sewer utility has to rent the hydrants, the city general fund has to rent the hydrants from the water and sewer utility, so that would be a revenue to this. This is looking on the expense side.
Right,
Where are you looking at, kind of there?
he's looking at this.
That's probably the payment to the motor pool fund.
Yeah, it's equipment rent.
It's not paid, yet. It's motor pool? Okay.
Yeah, it was part of, or it was last year. 'Cause we should see a corresponding decrease. And I think it was, part of it was broken out of administration and it was partly in utilities, but yeah, it should be in its own category moving forward, and that's how the state wanted it kind of shown moving forward. Then you also have expenses, large repair and maintenance to the system, depreciation, and then miscellaneous. The last graph shows the fund balance of the general fund. The measure of health, it's always important to kind of keep track of the general fund's fund balance because it's kind of the biggest and significant fund of the city. It stayed pretty level between 22 and 23, about almost 20,000 increase between years. And we always say with fund balance, as a measure, people always ask is what's, for fund balance, what's too much, what's too little, what should we be carrying? And there isn't a law or anything specific saying what it's gotta be, but the Government Finance Officers Association for the United States came up with a rule of thumb of 10 to 15% of your next year's budgeted expenditures is always a good floor to have to make sure your fund balance, try to not have it go below that so you have a safety net in case something comes up that you need it. Say anytime things can happen like pandemics or catastrophes or just unforeseen expenditures that come up, losses of funding or unfunded mandates by the state. So it kind of gives you that cushion so you can deal with things and not have to make too drastic of decisions. Kind of gives you some breathing room. So you're still, above that 15% at the end of 23. So you're still in a healthy place for fund balance, and that's a good thing. See, one of the other things we usually always look at is, I think in the page of the audit, see with the pension obligation, the report itself on page 66, column 22 is the current year for the pension obligation, and we talked about it going up. You're still 65% funded with that. The state of Michigan has kind of picked a rule of thumb of about 60%. If it gets below 60%, they get concerned and start writing letters and will ask you how it's going, what are you doing with managing it? And not that they'll give you any money to help you, but well, actually, the governor did give some people money, like with the defined benefit plans. I know some more very needy companies got some grant money. It wasn't enough to put a huge dent in it, but yeah. So again, the state, they like that. Make sure you're at least keeping above 60 to keep it in a healthy place. Again, with those, there's no law, rule, or anything that it's got to be so much funded. And it's just got to be managed and maintained to provide it at the level. So it's paying the benefits as they become due, and you're kind of managing it, keeping it to a healthy percentage. I know some people will take out bonds or try to fund it fully, but there's not really a silver bullet to make sure that it always stays fully funded because the stock market goes down or moves. So it's each year is its own separate battle. So you try to maintain it the best you can with your resources is the kind of the big requirement with that. So again, I think financially for the city, given another year of with the water and sewer projects and using the USDA debt to build infrastructure up, that went well. I say your tax base continues to stay healthy. You do pretty well with getting different grants and trying to get the most in that area. I'd say as compared to most communities I look at, you seem to be trying to get those as much as anybody can. And I think the city had a pretty healthy year for 23 at the end, so everything looked pretty good for the audit. And always too, everything's usually in good condition when we come in, and all the very few changes or anything ever to be made. Everything's always in tip-top shape and everything's organized and the documentation's available and things check out well. So we appreciate everybody's hard work and to making sure that they kind of stay on top of all the changes in accounting rules and things to keep up with it and report things like they need to be. So pretty good audit.
Would it be reasonable to ask for more detail on that rent number there, that $250,000? What the detail was for that, maybe an email later when you get a chance? Because there's 2 years worth of nothing.
Yeah.
It says it's probably motor pool, but that's not really a sufficient answer for me. And if it is motor pool, where was it at the last 2 years? Just curious. I'd like to see more detail on that,
Yep.
please.
I will send an email to
City
admin.
manager, whatever, how it works.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Totally. Yep.
I have a similar question on page 4 of the graphs.
Yep.
For 2023, it says that we had $22,392 in fines and forfeitures, but it doesn't show anything for 21 and 22. Any idea what that might be?
Yes, so those are usually, some of them are with the police department, different fines and forfeitures. I know sometimes when things are forfeited, like property and things like that. That too is, so kind of backing up a bit. This year, we've had to fully implement, the state redid the chart of accounts, and they were working on it for almost, 15 years or something. So if they kept pushing back the deadline to make sure we're following it. We finally got to 23 where it was the drop dead date of following the new way of doing things. So with that, we've got some of these new categories that are kind of new. Those would have been in charges for services the prior 2 years. I'd say overall, because we do what's called an analytical test too in our audit. We look at, with the trial balances, kind of more of the detailed information, and we'll look at those things by fund too. And I know those were more comparable just based on looking at the years to each other, so it's a present thing.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I say we thank everybody at the city too for all the hard work. I say we always go through a lot of information and tons and tons and a lot of questions and looking at a lot of things and pulling a lot of things from, the people you do business with too, and everybody's always cooperative and timely and two, they seem to care about doing a good job and doing things right. So we appreciate everybody's work here too.
Good to hear. Rumor is it can be stressful on staff. I said it's good to hear because rumor is it can be stressful on staff.
Yeah, I can see that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Consideration of the annual audit committee report. The council audit committee is established by section 23 of the city council guidelines. This section spells out the duties and responsibilities of the committee. As part of its responsibilities, the audit committee prepares a written report on how the committee discharged its duties and responsibilities. At this time, council could take action to accept the annual report of council audit committee. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of a contract extension with Anderson Tackman and Company, PLC, for auditing services. The city's 5-year contract for auditing services expires at the conclusion of the fiscal year 2023 audit. The Council Audit Committee and CFO both recommend that the city extend the contract with the existing audit firm, Anderson Tackman and Company, PLC, for an additional 5 years. At this time, council could take action to approve a contract extension with Anderson Tackman and Company, PLC, for auditing services and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute this agreement. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of adopting an amendment to Council Policy 13, Purchasing Policy. The City of Manistee has adopted CP 13 Purchasing Policy, which establishes guidelines for city purchases. Supply chain issues, short inventory, and long lead times have led to difficulty procuring vehicles and equipment. They need to make purchases decisions quickly without additional council approval for budgeted items such as police cars was discussed at the October 17th, 2023 meeting. The purchase policy has been reviewed and an amendment has been drafted that would allow for purchases of vehicles and equipment that were approved in the adopted budget with further council approval for purchases within 15% of the budgeted amount up to $80,000. At this time, council could take action to adopt an amendment to CP 13 purchasing policy. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yes, I just have a suggestion to this. I think it's in the council's best interest to be notified when you know that the price is going to go up, that the council members be notified in writing, so that it isn't just presented to them at our next council meeting, like say, well, yeah, we had to go 15% over. But when you know this is going to happen, I just think it's more prudent to send an email out to the council members if they know that this is happening and that they had approved this ordinance. So.
Certainly. No, that's a good idea, because I came up with the same thing.
So could we add that to this language? Like with written notice?
Do you want to add that, are you asking to add that to the actual policy?
Well,
Is that
I
what you
guess
want?
that's what I'm wondering, because it seems like we take action on it, so I'm just wondering if we could add that like with written notice to council. Like, you don't need our approval, but I think we should have written notice.
Just to clarify, what does, Councilmember Beaton, what did you want to have written notice for? I'm
If
not
it's
quite
going to go
tracking.
over the amount that we approved, I think it's just prudent that the council members be notified that the cost is going to go up, and we have this provision that allows for it. They just need to be aware of it.
I kind of think we should just know that it's being purchased. Like, even if the cost isn't going up, just like this is what we're doing. So if somebody says something to us, we're not
Yeah.
caught off guard.
I would even prefer that we be called after the chief orders the thing, rather than waiting for the, and then receive a notice.
So let me go to the proposed policy quickly here. I gotta get through the audit. Eventually I'll find it here.
So just to be clear, I was looking for that, you want to be notified in some type, email or otherwise, that a purchase is made and this is the purchasing price, and it was,
We're already allowing up to 15%, right? But I think we need to know when that's being,
So when you use that policy to implement
Ed,
something,
we
just
have
let
it on
us
the
know.
screen.
I would want.
Ed,
I don't know what
It's
the
on the
rest of the
screen.
council members.
Oh, yeah, I was just looking for a quick second here. So hypothetical situation, we have a patrol car budgeted for $60,000. Josh gets notice that there's a 7-day window, it's outside of a council meeting. The cost is, if it's over the budgeted amount, you'd like a notification from the city manager that we're gonna proceed, it's within the new policy, but it's gonna be over the 60,000?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think that's.
I just think it's something that
Yeah.
keeps everybody.
We can implement that as a procedure so that council's aware of it.
Mr. Bradford, could we just get notified even if it's within the budget that like we're taking it?
Sure,
yeah, I
absolutely.
think the intent from the city manager, my conversation with the city manager is when this is utilized, the city council will be notified regardless.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's a great idea not to have to wait for a meeting, but I think we should just know that it's being.
Yeah,
done.
I think that
Yes.
was the intent. We can make sure
Okay.
that's procedurally done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Heather, would you please take roll?
so was a motion as is?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yes.
We can put it in our procedures to notify us.
Okay. Councilmember Bachman.
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski.
Yes,
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of a resolution to authorize commercial credit card account agreement with Huntington Bank. The city currently has its credit card agreement with PNC Bank. The city uses Huntington Bank for all of its operational needs. In order to streamline and simplify operations, the city would like to change its credit card partner to Huntington Bank as well. At this time, council could take action to authorize commercial credit card account agreement with Huntington Bank. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Any discussion?
We always do a 5-year contract.
For the credit card?
Yeah.
There's not a contract per se. We just will change over to Huntington Bank, and that would be our credit card provider until such time we deem that they weren't performing or we weren't happy with them.
Is it a question more of, they like to charge fees, and it seems like my credit card companies, they will send out a notice to let us know that the fees are going up.
So we pay our credit card, we use it like a charge card. We pay it off in full every month. We don't incur fees or interest on that credit card normally, so there's
Okay.
no fees.
Okay, thanks.
Heather, would you please, anybody else? Would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac. Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of authorizing contract extension with Spicer Group. Spicer Group has been the city's engineer of record since 2013. The current 5-year contract expired October 2nd, 2023. Based on the reasonableness of the proposed contract extensions and the high level of service Spicer has provided the city, city staff are recommending approving the 5-year extension. The contract has been reviewed by the city attorney. At this time, council could take action to approve the contract extension with Spicer Group and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of authorizing Amendment 1 to the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, MEDC, agreement to fund a beach master plan update. The MEDC announced that the city was awarded funding for a beach master plan update in September of 2023. The grant will fund 75% of the project over two state of Michigan fiscal years. On September 19th, 2023, council approved the initial agreement. The reason for this amendment is to authorize the additional $10,953 of the MEDC funding for the project for the state's 2024 fiscal year. The beach master plan will identify, prioritize, and map out potential sustainable and accessible beach improvements for the next 10 years and beyond. At this time, council could take action to authorize the city manager to execute Amendment 1 to grant agreement with the MEDC to fund a beach master plan update. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Jeff, what exactly are they looking for to update? I mean, the whole beach, but
It's been over 10 years since the current master plans or conceptual plans were created for First Street Beach, Fifth Avenue Beach, and Man-Made Lake. We've implemented a lot of improvements there. We've upgraded the fish cleaning station, the beach house, put in disc golf, new restrooms. We've done the pavilions at Fifth Avenue. We're gonna be renovating the parking lot this spring and adding a wall there. So there's a lot of the things that in the previous master plan were implemented and updated. And I think it's time for the community to have input on what the future is for those parks and help guide the city staff and the Parks Commission on what the community thinks should be the next steps for those.
Jeff, I have a question. What improvements have they recommended for Man-Made Lake?
The current conceptual plans for Man-Made Lake were really to keep that natural. So there wasn't a lot of physical improvements. It was more to keep it natural and to focus and concentrate the people in the capital improvements at First Street and Fifth Avenue. From memory, there may have been one pavilion there that we haven't funded, but it was pretty much to keep Man-Made Lake natural.
Yeah, because I haven't seen any improvements, so that's why I'm curious.
Yeah, and which would trek along with that. And, communities change, and when you see what you've got, and the vision for the future may be different, so I think it's time to reset that.
There's still that section for sale over there yet?
I believe that, yeah,
How
that
much
private
do
lot
we-
is,
You know,
do you remember, Ed? The private lot at Man-Made?
It said 200,000.
Yeah, I think it was in the.
200,000,
I
right?
was gonna say it's over 200,000.
Anybody else? Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton.
Yes,
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski.
yes,
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
yes,
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of awarding a contract for pavement rehabilitation along 8th Street. The city transportation improvement plan includes pavement rehabilitation on 2 sections of 8th Street from Tamarack to US 31 and Davis Street to Vine. The project includes a microsurf slurry seal and upgrading street signs. The project was publicly bid, with the loan bid being received from Pavement Maintenance Systems LLC. Following the value engineering, the proposed contract amount is $169,876.55. The project budget for construction is $170,000. At this time, council could take action to approve a contract with the Pavement Maintenance System LLC in the amount of $169,876.55 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to know if you've done business with this company before.
Yes, we had. When we did this treatment, River Street, Maple, Cherry, some of 8th Street, we did quite a few major streets in town. This was the firm that did that work before.
Okay,
And I've personally seen them doing work in the county this summer for the road commission as well.
okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Jeff, are you worried that there might be additional costs so that budget wouldn't be, it's a pretty tight budget based on where they came in at, so are you worried about additional cost and if that, we have to incur any of that, or you think we'll be set?
I think we're gonna be pretty good.
Okay.
This is really surface treatment, so usually you get into changes when you're underground and you find unknowns.
Okay.
So this number may fluctuate a little bit based on final quantities, but I don't see it moving that much.
Okay.
When's this gonna get done?
It'll be spring, probably May.
All right.
Okay, you're talking about Tamarack to 31. Did we ever get that Tamarack in 8th, paved that little section?
We went out for bids for patches, and we received bids from Reith Riley and from Molon Paving. Elmer's did not submit a proposal to us because of the parent company. Their agreement between Elmer's and Reith Riley, as I understand it, there's a cutoff of M55. Elmer's has always given us the best prices for patching, but we did not get a price on it this year. So because the bids that we did receive are very high again, my staff are pulling gravel out, and we're gonna cold patch those to get us through the winter, and then we'll have to include them in another paving project next summer.
I see they did the one on 5th in Kosciuszko.
Yeah, we're making our way around to all of them.
What other ones do we have to do yet?
There's 20-some on the list,
Okay.
and it's all utility excavations.
Okay. Anybody else? Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton.
Yes,
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski.
Yes,
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
yes,
Motion passed.
Thank you. Consideration of applications to boards and commissions. The city clerk has taken action to advertise vacancies of the Board of Review, Compensation Commission, Downtown Development Authority, Harbor Commission, PEG Commission, Tree Commission, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. Mayoral and manager appointments require a motion, second, and council voted support. Nominations for council appointments do not require a second. After all nominations are made, council votes on the nominees until one nominee receives the majority support. The following applications have been received. Harbor Commission, 1 vacancy, term ending 10/31/26. George Becker, 560 5 Bryant Avenue. At this time, council could take action to appoint as noted. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Or nominations?
Nominate George Becker for the vacancy ending on 10/31/26 on the Harbor Commission.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Bachmann.
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Lundberg.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski.
Yes,
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Yes.
Nomination approved.
Thank you. Now we'll have a report from the Manistee County Community Foundation. Ms. Anna Rodriguez.
Well, good evening, Mayor Sullivan, Mayor Pro Tem Grabowski, council members. My name is Hannah Rodriguez, and I'm a program officer with the Manistee County Community Foundation. Unfortunately, our president and CEO, Laura Heinzelman, is not feeling well today, so I'll be covering her portion of our presentation as well. So thank you so much for this opportunity, as always, to talk about the mission of the Community Foundation and to highlight some of our recent community impact. For the past 35 years, the Manistee County Community Foundation has proudly served as a vehicle for philanthropy to help donors make a meaningful impact on people and places across the city of Manistee and throughout our entire Manistee County community. It's why the Manistee County Community Foundation exists. Whether from year-round or seasonal residents or visitors who spend just a few special days here each year, contributions to the Community Foundation become local community assets that support and sustain this place that we all love. MCCF is one of more than 65 community foundations in Michigan and one of nearly 1,000 across the United States. And while we share the same core purposes, no two community foundations are alike because by design, we reflect the unique needs and opportunities of the communities that we serve, in our case, Manistee County. The foundation's purposes were clear from the beginning and remain so today, and that is to build a lasting source of community capital, award grants that respond to local needs and opportunities, and convene and lead to effect positive community change. We are unique in a couple of important respects. First, we are the only entity serving Manistee County that focuses on improving all aspects of life. Through our grants, scholarships, community leadership work, we're really privileged to have the opportunity to impact a wide variety of needs and opportunities across Manistee County. And additionally, we are a permanent institution, and the vast majority of the funds that we administer are endowments, meaning that they are managed in such a way to provide a lasting source of support for their intended purpose today and for generations to come. The foundation is a public charity governed by a volunteer board of directors that provide diverse perspectives, leadership and accountability for the foundation. And the foundation and our community are fortunate to benefit from this dedicated and experienced group of community leaders with a passion for our purpose. The foundation is powered by a professional team of 5, of which I'm privileged to be a part of, who are really deeply committed to our community and its success. Whether someone's curious about how to donate, interested in applying for a scholarship or grant, or wanting to share insight about a pressing community need, we're here to listen, advise, and help. About 2 years ago, we were excited to relocate our offices to the lower level of the West Shore Community College Manistee Downtown Education Center and to expand our opportunity to collaborate with our building partners. At the end of 2022, the Community Foundation was comprised of over 100 component funds in support of a wide array of needs across Manistee County. New funds added to our portfolio last year included the Gamache Scholarship Fund and the Carl and Barbara Rowe All Arts and Culture Fund. 2022, as we all know, was a challenging and volatile year for the market, and our investment portfolio was down just over 15%. So at the end of 2022, our total net assets were about $31 million. But the foundation and its investments are managed with a long-term perspective so that we continue to have a strong community impact regardless of short-term market conditions. So last year was a great example in that through the generosity of our donors, we were proud to continue to expand our grant-making program and awarded over $1.3 million in grants and scholarships. However, we really remain focused on continuing to expand our community impact because even with that expanded grant program, we're unable to fully meet the needs and opportunities of our Manistee County community. So one way we can do that is by continuing to grow our assets through the encouragement of outright gifts, gifts of stock, direct IRA distributions, and planned gifts through a will or trust, or by adding the foundation as a beneficiary to a retirement account or a life insurance policy. The needs and opportunities in Manistee County are diverse and deep, and contributions to our Limitless Fund provide the foundation with important flexibility that's really necessary to address varied and ever-changing community needs, including future needs that can't be anticipated today. So thinking of the pandemic or other things that arise that we want to be able to respond to flexibly. The Foundation Board and staff are committed to making our programs and services more accessible to all Manistee County residents, really working to eliminate barriers and build equity and inclusion in our work and in our community. As an example of that, we proudly serve as a fiscal sponsor for the Manistee Racial Justice and Diversity Initiative, or MARJD. One additional way that we're looking to expand our impact, and something I'm very excited about, is through a new investment program that was recently approved by our board of directors. So even with that expanded grant program, the board of directors recognizes that our community needs surpass what our grant-making program alone can support. So this recently announced impact investing program will enable the Community Foundation to do more to support the Manistee County community by investing a portion of our assets locally rather than in our traditional investment portfolio. The board approved an initial impact investment pool of 5% of the foundation's investment portfolio, or $1.5 million. And impact investments are investments made with the intention of generating both a financial and a social return. So while any investments that further the foundation's mission to enhance the quality of life in Manistee County will be considered, the board has prioritized investments that will help address some of our community's greatest challenges, such as affordable housing, childcare, education, and mental health. MCCF's initial impact investments will be in community development financial institutions, or CDFIs, which will be responsible for deploying the funds through loans to small businesses located within Manistee County. So if you aren't familiar, CDFIs are financial institutions whose primary mission is to increase access to affordable capital. To begin this new program, we've entered into $250,000 loan agreements with both Venture North Funding and Development and Northern Initiatives, two different CDFIs. And over the coming months, we're really looking forward to sharing stories of how the CDFIs have used our investments to in turn invest in area businesses to help boost our local economy and enhance our quality of life. So just another exciting way that we're making an impact. I wanted to make sure to highlight several component funds of the foundation that directly impact the city or city property. So pictured here are the Ramsdale Preservation Fund, which provides supports for the maintenance, restoration, and preservation of the interior of the historic theater and complex. The Manistee Non-Motorized Trail Park Fund supports four-season park maintenance and other aspects of the park. Blossom Boulevard Fund helps to make our community even more beautiful and welcoming. And then the Manistee Veterans Memorial Park Fund supports the addition of monuments and other park enhancements in recognition and in honor of our area veterans. And I want to express our appreciation on behalf of the foundation to the City of Manistee, both for your interest in our grant programs and for your partnership and collaboration on various projects and initiatives over the past several years. In order for the foundation to achieve its mission of enhancing quality of life and place in Manistee County, we rely on entities like the City of Manistee. So pictured here are a few examples. The ribbon cutting for the new Manistee Family Disc Golf Course project, made possible in part by a $22,500 grant from the foundation's Meager Family Endowment Fund. And also a grant totaling $97,500 was made to the City of Manistee for Manistee Park improvements, including last week's Morton Park Playground community build, also supported by the foundation's Meager Family Endowment Fund. Also wanted to highlight Tracy Davis, our Manistee County Housing Ready Coordinator, and we are really grateful to the city for collaborating with the foundation and other local partners to help fund that position, to help our community identify solutions for one of our greatest challenges, the shortage of quality affordable housing options across the spectrum of income. So now to my area of expertise and what I was originally here to talk about, our youth and education programs. So as a program officer with the foundation, my focus is leading our various youth and education programs and initiatives. And we continue to be really strongly dedicated to youth and education as a priority through those programs and initiatives that we hold. Those include our Youth Advisory Council, or our YAC, our scholarship programs, and the Launch Manistee Network, which is a community leadership initiative coordinated by the foundation. So our Youth Advisory Council, or our YAC, one of my favorite parts of my role, is made up of high school students from all 6 Manistee County school districts who, through YAC, have the opportunity to learn about philanthropy, recommend grants to receive funds from the foundation's youth endowment. And in the spring of 2023, the YAC recommended grant awards to the Manistee County Community Band and Choir, to Staircase Youth Services, and the United Way of Manistee County, all to support programs and projects that improve the lives of Manistee County youth, with priority given to projects that involved youth voice in both project planning and implementation. A principle of YAC, and something that we work to emphasize, is that they are current leaders, not future leaders, and their voices are really important as they are, directly impacted by community decisions like the rest of us. The MCCF board approved these grant awards, and they were made in May of 2023. With support from donors with a passion for education, the foundation administers a number of scholarship funds in support of Manistee County students. These funds vary in their eligibility and selection criteria, and various selection committees recommend recipients who are approved by the foundation board of directors. During 2023, we awarded 41 new scholarships totaling commitments of up to $162,300 and renewed 22 prior awards to assist more area students with continuing and persisting in their education after high school, noting that much of scholarship funding comes in that initial transition from high school to college, but that persistence piece and having renewable awards is really valuable to students. The new awards included Manistee Commitment Scholarships awarded to 12 class of 2023 students to attend West Shore Community College. So this program, as you might recall, is a unique program of the foundation that is operated in collaboration with West Shore Community College, and its overarching goal is to really build equity in post-secondary education for more students. So scholars in the program are supported in post-secondary exploration and planning by the West Shore Community College Success Coach, starting in high school and throughout their time at the college, should they choose to enroll there. And we will have our 5th cohort of students in that program graduating in the spring of 2024, which is really exciting. We've had over 100 students participate in the program and be eligible for this opportunity. So also within my role at the foundation, I coordinate the Launch Manistee Network, which operates as a community leadership initiative of the foundation. And it's really our community's cradle to career educational network that promotes lifelong learning and empowers residents to advance themselves and Manistee County through education. So we have a cross-sector leadership team made up of community stakeholders from early childhood, K-12 education, higher education, government, philanthropy, business, nonprofit, and they guide the network's strategic direction and set its goals, priority areas, and metrics. The network is committed to the value that education is for everyone, and so in our work, we seek to build equitable and inclusive systems that remove barriers to education and increase access and opportunity for more people. So in recent years, and I talked about this a little bit last year, and in light of growing challenges, the Launch Manistee Network has really deepened its focus on Manistee County's early childhood care and education system in recognition that this system and our community's economic success are really inextricably linked. In the summer of 2021, leaders from the Launch Manistee Network and Manistee County's Early Childhood Collaborative, which is an action group of the HSCB, or the Human Services Collaborative Body, began convening to better understand and address this gap and related challenges. So this cross-sector group of community partners who were already convening around this issue were formalized as a core team and began further investigation of our early childhood care and education challenges. So with engagement from key community stakeholders, including parents, child care providers, local employers, the core team developed a community solutions action plan to collaboratively address these challenges. So the group, which is now collectively known as Raising Manistee County, is working toward the successful implementation of this plan, which includes the 4 goals that you see here, which seek to address our early childhood care and education system challenges and work towards sustainable solutions So these are very broad, high-level goals. We have specific action steps within them, but these really rose out of a lot of conversation with important stakeholders to understand what we needed to try and address and tackle first. So while we really continue to engage a strong cross-sector core team of community leaders, you can see all of our partners here that really range sectors in our community that are working toward these goals and the implementation of action steps. This work requires additional capacity and investment to be successful and to really create those sustainable changes. So in order to further develop and sustain that strong, coordinated early childhood care and education system that we want, the Community Foundation recently submitted an application on behalf of Raising Manistee County for a Rural Readiness Grant, which is a program through the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. So these monies would deepen investment and capacity building in our collective efforts, as well as aid in leveraging direct investment into the early childhood system. So we submitted a letter of intent in August and were notified in late September that we were invited to submit an application, which we've done, and we'll hopefully hear good news about that in mid-December. So we're really grateful to have a strong network of cross-sector stakeholders, including the City of Manistee, who are either directly involved in this project and in this work, or who have been supportive of these efforts. So as we continue our mission at the Foundation to ensure quality of life and place in Manistee County today and in the future, we look forward to continued community engagement and collaboration that builds and strengthens the systems within which we all thrive. So I want to say thank you again on behalf of the Foundation. Happy to take any questions. I may not be able to speak to the financial components of our work as well as Laura could, but happy to give it my best shot and welcome any questions or comments.
You do a great job on your report. Thank you for, you present them extremely well, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. It's always great to engage and be able to share the work that we're collaborating on together.
And I just have one question. So with the early childhood and childcare, I guess, what is that group seen as the biggest obstacle for Manistee County? I mean, the state overall, and not just the state of Michigan, but it's kind of a nationwide thing.
Absolutely.
You know, I know a couple of years ago when you were looking as a district for like an early childhood person, there was nobody out there. Is that still the issue? Is it funding? What? Like?
So, you know, with any complex challenge, it's a combination of things, right? But I think with childcare in particular, what we have is a pay parity issue for those that are working in childcare. So many childcare, especially home-based programs, have to operate like a business, but they have to remain affordable to families, and that is a really hard margin to meet. We also have, it's one of the lowest paying jobs in any sector. And yet it requires a great deal of post-secondary education. So as an example, a lead teacher in a preschool program is required to have a bachelor's degree, and yet they make probably 75%, if that, and that's generous, of what a teacher in the K-12 system makes, and yet has to have the same credentials. So that is a key component of the issue. There are many others, but really what we have is a system that doesn't have enough investment and needs more. So that's part of what we're trying to do, is understand, like, how can those gaps be filled? So impact investing is one of those ways that we could potentially look at doing that. How can we support those childcare businesses in really getting what they need to be successful, but yet ensure that we're not making childcare so unaffordable that families can't participate, which is already a challenge. So there's a balance of scales that's really difficult to find, and I think that I'm just so excited that we have so much cross-sector support. I can tell you, you know, just as an example, when we submitted this recent application, we had 18 letters of support, including from the city, from the county, from a state representative, from all of those sectors that I mentioned, because I think we all know that this is a really critical issue. It's going to take time to solve, and I know that's hard to say to a parent who needs childcare yesterday, but unfortunately it's one of those complex systemic issues that we really have to spend some time uncovering and thinking hard about in order to ensure that whatever changes we're making are going to be sustainable. We're not just doing the same thing over and over again.
Look.
Well, you're welcome to join us in that effort. We of course welcome any other feedback and engagement, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will have a report from Mr. George Becker on the Harbor Commission.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. George Becker, I'm the Chairman of the Harbor Commission. I don't know. We started the year with a presentation from the public from Kelly Greavy from Manistee Proud. She and Liz Lasky, who represents the Parks Commission and the DDA, gave us a list of things to do and potential ideas and employee engagement with our customers and things like that, which we took together and tried to put all that together, and then really got involved and thought that was going to be a good idea, so we pushed that forward and started doing that. A lot of it was decoration of the harbor, what else, painting, things like that, the outside, miscellaneous things like that. During that, we also came up with an idea for some kind of new marketing to get the idea out there to everybody in the area and outside the area, maybe even further than that, like the US, about our Manistee Harbor and the new facility that we had. So we came up with this company that I've got familiar with in Chicago. It's called DACWA. They do marketing and advertising, management of harbors, representation, things like that. We contacted her and they gave us, we had a special meeting with Bill Gamble, Katie Trevisano was there, the manager, and then Mary Lou Medill, the vice chairman, was there, and she gave us a really nice Zoom presentation of what they can do for us. So we're going to try and get them into our marketing. That's pretty reasonable. We've got a nice marketing budget for that, so hopefully we can do that coming up. Then getting on to April, backing up a little bit, we've got these rack cards that we created. I don't know if you wanted to see one.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
it's called the American Great Lakes Cruisers Association. Now, back in 7/22 at a meeting, Mark Stamstead from MS Creative here in Manistee came up with a marketing plan for us, and he suggested a lot of these things. So what we did was we joined the Great Lakes Cruisers this year, which is they give out like a monthly newsletter, and then it'll tell you all sorts of ideas and stuff for boaters. If you're not familiar with the loop, it starts anywhere you want in the Great Lakes. You go down to Chicago, through the Illinois River, Mississippi River, all around the eastern seaboard, up along the St. Lawrence Seaway, and back through the lakes again. There's a lot of people that do it. We get a lot of people here every year. We've talked to probably half a dozen or more this year that stopped. So that's another marketing potential that we're going to be doing. And also, the Department of Public Works was working on the patio and a lot of landscaping and other long-term projects that we're getting and coming together. Now, Kelly, what she did was she and her team of Manistee Proud people, they put together a plan for that, which I talked about earlier. And she literally went door to door and raised money. And then the DDA kicked in money, and then the rest came from, I believe, whatever we had. Almost $20,000 went into this painting and the decorating and all sorts of projects and this and that. So then, coming up in June, DACWA, which we were still kind of on the fence, they said, well, you know what, we're gonna give you some free time. So they set up a little thing for us, and we got probably about 28 hits on that, and 6 or 8 potential transients that stayed the night, so it's probably going to be a good thing to use in the future. The painting and the decorating were done. The inside of the marina was almost complete. We got a gas grill donated from the public. Money came in, furniture was purchased. At that time, I thought, you know what, let's do an open house. We got to thank these people. They're giving money, they're giving time. So we set up an open house in potentially in September. So we set up a special meeting with everyone in the commission. Jeff was there, the manager. And we also had a new member, Wesley Smith, that joined in, so we set September 16th for this open house. Got a little bit of interest from some things. We got the Coast Guard guys there. We had donuts, coffee, stuff like that. And it was really well attended. We tried to have it coincide with something. Since there was no hops and props this year, we did with TJ's block party. So at our September meeting, we talked about that. That worked out really good. We also raffled off a seasonal launch pass, 2 tickets to the Princess of the Manistee, and then we also had another new member who showed up at the open house that we greeted, and it's Wayne Johnson. So when I started, we had barely enough for a quorum. Now we've got almost a full commission again, and we're getting a lot of new ideas coming in, which is working out really good. So I'm gonna make this kind of quick anyway. Looking back, we got, as you saw probably in the paper, I think it was 7% or more occupancy and revenue up. The transients was up, and what was the other one? The seasonals went from 1 to 8 or 10 this year, and I know we've got reservations for next year. We got a presentation coming up. We set up a marketing work session coming up December 5th for DACWA. And then also Sammy, I think it's Eskowitz with Manistee Tourism. She's going to be there to give us some ideas for 2024 to see if we can really get the ball rolling. Because with the facility we got, to get the word out there, we can really, really fill up the harbor and just get more people in for tourism, the Riverwalk, everything. That's the goal. And since the beginning, Jeff has always stressed the importance of, since it's an enterprise zone, it can be self-supporting, and I've heard in the past it was just jam-packed with boats, and see if we can keep that going. Any questions?
Well, I want to say, whatever advertising the marina is doing, it must be working. And I'll give you one example. I was in a graduating class of 436 people, and one of them happened to call me. There's a lot of us that are connected on Facebook. She happened to call me because she was looking for a place for her boat.
Right.
She was looking at Harbor Village and their docks, and she was looking at our city marina. So we had a lengthy discussion about the attributes of both places. And she was really impressed with the pictures she had seen of the marina. So she's a very hard person to please, by the way. She owns an investment company.
Yeah.
So she's a hard person to please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that the advertising must have been effective enough to attract somebody like her.
We can get the word out there beyond Manistee, beyond Michigan. I mean, we put our rack cards, I've got connections in Chicago. We put them in the Chicago Yacht Club, the Columbia Yacht Club. From here to Chicago, we were dropping them off. According to Jeff, people still pick them up. That's, even with the websites and everything else, is our electronic world, people still like to pick up a brochure and look at it, so we'll see how it goes. And that's our plan.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we'll have a discussion on the Manistee County Land Bank, Waterworks Building, but I'm not sure who. Oh,
yeah,
Eric, sorry. Eric.
One of my other hats I throw on occasion, so. Mayor and council, thank you for giving me a few minutes tonight. I think it's kind of an exciting time for the land bank and some things that are happening at the state and federal level. But just to give a kind of a level set of what we've been working on at the land bank, this blight elimination grant went through round 1, round 2, and now we're working on 3 and 4. And to give you some perspective on what that means, there's a lot of dollars available for blight elimination and helping for economic development. Last year, we were awarded $250,000 for the city of Manistee to do some blight elimination. This year, we got another $250,000. By the end of December, we'll have demoed and prepared 4 different sites within the city limits to get cleaned up and for new housing or new developments. And that's all part of this blight elimination program that we have. Now, with any state and federal program, they fund and then they have this much of a timeline to work with. So like 3 and 4 blight elimination, there's $33 million available in the state. And we have some projects. We were talking the last couple of months at the Planning Commission to what are good projects in Michigan, what are Manistee, what are some things we could help, shrink that gap for financing or for project execution. And 3 distinct projects came to the surface after discussing at the land bank meeting, and one was the Waterworks building. I think we can all attest. That's a beautiful building. It's got great historical significance to this community. It's got just great character. Its location is phenomenal. When we were talking about, I thought about, well, what about the Waterworks Daycare and Early Childhood Development Program right there? Just throwing that out there. So what I did is after we had our last meeting with the county, or the land bank, I came and met with Bill, and I said, could we work with the city and collaborate on what's called because it's publicly owned, we can qualify under 3 different distinct areas. Environmental, for that building. Are there any environmental issues? We can do a phase 1 and phase 2. That includes lead, asbestos surveys, all of those things for that building. Are there any concerns there? We can assess that. Building stabilization, we can apply for anything that building may need from a stabilization process. That could be foundation, that could be tuck points, that could be structural walls and the roof and the windows to make sure it's structurally sound. Are there opportunities there? And then there's also, because again, it's owned by the city, rehabilitation dollars that we could fund into this. It could be internally HVAC, electricity, the flooring, removing some of the obsolete walls or things that are in that building, and put a long list of laundry items together for the Waterworks building, apply for it on behalf of the city, collaborate with the city and a third party to do that work. The challenge with that is these grant applications have to be in by December 8th. So we need to have all of our stuff together by December 7th. So Susan from Fishback, as it was Weslick, can submit that by the 8th. And that includes a lot of things, a collaboration with the city, a resolution or a letter of support from the city, the DDA, the chamber, the Economic Development Board, other businesses, fire and police, or some of these buildings becoming safety hazards for folks. There's a term that I learned from my nieces and nephews called urban exploring, and some kids, break windows, climb in and try to figure out what's inside. That happens obviously out at the Kennedy School project. That's another land bank grant. We got over $500,000 for that. So our thought was, how do we, make a project, make that building more palatable for a development project? And so what I'm here to do is just talk to you a little bit about, those thoughts. Would the city be interested in working with us on a land bank perspective to leverage grant dollars to really enhance that building for an idea that may be in the future, because we don't have a plan for it yet, but that's one project that we would definitely like to work with the city on. Just a few years ago, I'm dating myself a little bit, 10 or 15 years ago, when I was sitting in your position, we had a bunch of things that had to come together, and Jeff can probably talked about this more than I can. When we were building the North Channel Outlet project, we needed so many things to come together, from water and sewer to development to MEDC, everything to come together with projects. And in small communities, we don't have deep pockets a lot. So finding these dollars from the state and federal level is really important for us to make them come to fruition. So what I would like to do, again, as we move forward, I can forward you guys information. Did you guys get any information on this tonight or before tonight? Because we got some stuff. There's actually two programs here that I can make sure you guys all get a copy of the detail of these blight elimination grants. But the Waterworks building was one project we had in mind, because again, it's city owned and we can apply for all 3 levels. The other 2 projects are the Hotel Northern. You guys already just approved an Oprah grant for that. We would like to also apply for a grant for them to work on that building, stabilize it. There's a foundation issues. The back of that building, I've been told, has lucky to be still standing. And if we could help with that development, I know that developer, we've talked to him at length and would be thrilled to collaborate on a blight elimination and to help stabilize that building and again, reduce some of the gaps for his project to come to fruition. And then the third project is the Ringo Oil building that's down on First Street. If you're familiar with that, you know, it's Cedar Street and First Street right there, that old Ringo Brown building that they're looking to develop. It'd be a similar stabilization or blight elimination piece that we could help them apply for. All three of those projects to help fund and get them at least closer to the finish line than we have in the past. I've got a plethora of information that I can provide to you for that, but I just wanted to kind of plant the seed tonight, get more information to your hands, and then maybe at your late November meeting, come back before you, hopefully with all questions asked. I can answer questions tonight if I can, but at the end of the day, we'd love to see a great collaboration between the land bank and the city on these three projects.
Do you have something ready to go for, because we have only got 2 more
Yeah.
before the 7th?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we've got templates for letters of support. We got templates for resolutions. We've got all of the background and data. We've met with Ed, and we've working with Spicer on potential opportunities to get in these buildings and see what kind of estimates we could get to build out a credible grant application. Just for example, I mean, the application we put in for the old Kennedy School was really well detailed. It had it had exactly what the use was, removing all the asbestos and all the things for it. And we were one of 3 grants in northern Michigan that got full funding for that project. So we're feeling a little high on our success, and we want to go back to the well with what kind of that template we used for that project. And we have to look at things like what kind of economic impact does it have? What kind of needs does it address for the community, whether that's housing, retail space, or just creating some white space for future development. So those are all pieces that work towards the grant numbering. It's got basically a numeric system that you go by to 30 points for this and 10 points for that. And so if we could check off as many of those as we can really find a lot of dollars. And $500,000 is our limit on the Kennedy School grant. But Susan just let me know we can apply to up to $1 million or $1.5 million for each one of these projects to help them get to the finish line too. So they may not give us $1 million or $1.5 million, but if they give us, we shoot for the stars and land on the moon somewhere, we could definitely be in a better spot to help these projects come to fruition.
I have a question. You said these projects, so is an option to say we're going to do all 3 or 2, or do we have to choose one that we want to move forward?
Seth, that's a great question. So when we submit these to the blight elimination grants to the state, we have to list them in a prioritized level. And even within that prioritized level, each grant, you've got to list in that if we're asking for $1.5 million, we've got to prioritize our top 5 things in that grant itself. So they say, well, we can't give you $1.5 million, but we'll give you $500,000 to take care of the roof, the HVAC, and the enclosement. So when we look at those 3 projects, we've got to prioritize them by project, and then prioritize within that project what are the key things that need to be done to make that a feasible grant application. And if we look at it, I love the Waterworks building, but there's no real plan for it yet, and it would probably take a little bit to get a credible plan. But the other 2 projects have real site plans and economic impact in housing and retail space for both of those projects. So those are probably going to be the top 2, and then the Waterworks would be another one we want to make sure. The nice thing about the Waterworks building is its historical significance to Manistee and the community. And so if we can work with Mark Federer and get some documentation on its historical significance, it certainly can go a long ways for that grant application.
So with the Waterworks, I guess, I know that had come up at a previous meeting and we had talked about trying to get community input. And my thought line was exactly what you had mentioned, when we had discussed that previously, that could really provide an outlet to maybe touch or put a dent in some of our need for either childcare or, you know, some type of like maybe a sandcastles or something, an outlet for children in this area. Is that something that if we say like, hey, we aren't ready there yet because we don't really have a plan, is this something like next year might be an option or down the road?
So we have such a small window to put in the application, and I'll tell, Ed wants to get in here because he wants to apply for a SHPO grant to do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So we think the building might be eligible for a SHPO grant, similar to the one that we did for the Ramsdale Theater, a planning feasibility study grant.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten verification, but when I've talked to Alan Higgins from SHPO in the past, he's indicated fit. So if we can do that, and we're fortunate enough to get that grant, that will probably be a really good venue to get a lot of public input as to what the highest and best use for that should be. So if we can get both of these, it'd be awesome.
Right, but I guess what I'm asking, and I took it like there will be another opportunity, like, is this a one-time thing, or will this?
So, yeah, Seth, great question. So we have, they did it in a real weird order. So you did 1 and 2 in succession, and then we have to apply for a competitive grant that is round 4, but we need to have that in by January or December 7th.
Right.
And then there's round 3 that we have a guaranteed grant that's in March. So if you don't hit anything in December, if you lose out on all your bids there, you can roll over your grant requests for the March, the round 3, and we're guaranteed at least $500,000 in our round 3 grants. But if we're good at competitive bidding,
Yeah.
we can take, if we get all 3 of these funded under competitive bidding, we can get that and our guaranteed $500,000 in March. And then the window is closed at that point, because there's no more funding at the state level for these, unless a new program comes to fruition. But right now, we're kind of in this timeline between December and March. How do we get as much free money, I call it free money, but state taxpayer money, but to leverage in our community to make a great impact, so.
Okay, thank you.
I think it would be foolish for us not to try to get
Oh, yeah, and those projects won't happen without some other, resources and collaborations and people participating in those. So my thought is if we can leverage these dollars for sensible projects that work in our community, let's do it. Yeah, so.
Are we in consensus to have him bring something back to us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you feeling like you're gonna hit that deadline, or where?
Yeah, we feel pretty confident because, well, and the challenge we're going to have, the precipice of time is our waterworks building, because both the Hotel Northern, they've got site plans, they've got 90% of their project ready to rock and roll with costs and assessments on that. So does the Ringo building. The waterworks building, we're going to have to work with Ed and Spicer to kind of execute a punch list of what needs to be done on the stabilization, rehabilitation, and potential environmental impacts, and get a long laundry list to punch that out as best we can in that short amount of time. But a lot of confidence in our team back there, so.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much, and I look forward to getting you some more information, find a great collaboration, and continue working forward on this project, so appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, citizens' comment. This is an opportunity for citizens in attendance to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement. Limited to 5 minutes. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read. Nobody. Chief Glass.
Just 2 quick things. Number 1, MDOT published a press release regarding the US 31 bridge. We shared it on the city Facebook page. Just a reminder to council that during the week of Sleigh Bell, the bridge will be open. We're being told that 4 lanes of traffic will be open as well as pedestrian traffic. After Sleigh Bell, it'll be closed again for the remainder of the project. So just a reminder to council. Number 2, I just wanted to publicly commend our city clerk and her staff, her 20-some employees that she pulled together for the election. After seeing firsthand how much work and staff it takes to pull off an election, that was pretty impressive. Just 2 things. Thank you.
The other?
I just wanted to let you know that the Board of Canvassers did complete their canvass today, and they have certified the results from yesterday's election.
Okay, thank you. Sean?
Really brief. I just want to say thank you for the extension of our contract. It means a lot to us. Our team looks forward to serving the community. One statement is, we don't take this for granted. It's a big deal for us, and if you have any concerns with the work we're doing or questions, please reach out to me. If you got any concerns with me, just reach out to Annie. She'll set me straight. Finally, I just wanted to say, Councilwoman Beaton, it's been a pleasure working with you. You've done a lot for this community, and thank you. So.
Thank you. Mr. Pratt?
I had a couple things. Jeff, I got a call earlier today from the rec center, and evidently their furnace is out. Do we know anything about that, or what that is gonna entail?
Yeah, I believe they contacted us yesterday, and our current vendor of record is Custom, so we contacted Custom to go figure out what's happening.
Okay, they had mentioned something about it's like from 1989, they think, that furnace?
I'm not
So,
sure.
I just didn't know.
I know we've done work on it in the past, but yeah,
Okay.
we rely on the vendors for that.
Okay. While you're there, sidewalks, there's several areas where they had removed the sidewalk and they've got the wood outline still, but there's no cement. Do you know,
Yeah, we poured those yesterday.
there's one on 4th Street that I got a call on today and I checked and it's still not poured, like across from Trinity. The homeowner was like, are they gonna be able to do that before winter, or am I gonna have to figure something out?
Yeah, I thought they had done everything, but I can double check that.
Okay.
We were delayed a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the concrete for the bridge, actually, and then, of course, the weather delayed everybody, but, yeah, I know we did do 9.5 yards of pours yesterday.
They really weren't complaining, they were just kinda
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what's this gonna look like?
We'll make sure it gets in there.
Okay.
Yep.
Lights in the park kind of came up at the DDA meeting today, and I'm not sure if you were still there, but my understanding is there's one section out.
Yeah, he talked to me before the meeting started, and then I drove by it tonight before the council meeting, so we'll be getting in touch with Top Line to see what's
Then
happening.
the lights at the other park, from what he was saying and a couple merchants were saying, stay on all day long. Like, they believe it, like the sensor's not working.
Yeah, which, where?
Didn't they put them in like the art, well, it used to be the art park, is that still the art park?
Yeah, that's not city property, though. We don't do anything with that.
Okay. So who would they contact? Because they were thinking it was a DPW thing.
It's not. It started off with a teacher from the school,
It was Rhonda Herbal at one time, but I don't think it is anymore.
and then I think the DDA then reestablished and got permission. I think it was the DDA got permission. No, I mean, I'm not sure. Let me try to look into that.
Okay, because the gentleman at the DDA meeting thought it was a DPW thing, so I just was
Yeah,
passing
we
it
don't.
along.
Yeah, we really don't have any involvement there.
Okay. The Morton's Park, there's been a lot of people using it, and that's been a great project. Collaboration was wonderful. It was really nice to have the railroad and volunteers, city workers, grant from the Community Foundation, everybody. Just thinking ahead, though, and I know there was some discussion there, but I've had a couple people reach out that were volunteers that day. Is there an intent to purchase a ramp at some time, or maybe take some of that edging and open it up so that somebody with a wheelchair could access it in that?
Yeah, the city manager talked to me about that this week, so we'll look at something there.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
ADA. Okay. The other thing I had for Chief Glass, I guess, Maple Street. I'm not sure what's going on there, but like with the bridge and people driving and I guess being in a hurry and not planning, they're passing. Like, so this morning, right in front of the old high school, you know, if you're coming down north on that, they're passing like over in front of people's houses. They're making it like 3 lanes, and it's not kids. You know, but some of those, we've got young drivers and stuff, and some of them are like, they're not sure where to go. Like, you can tell they're panicking because somebody's going around them when they shouldn't be. Is there a way like we can put something like in the paper or something and just kind of remind people? I mean, I'm kind of surprised, but like I watched 4 people do it this morning.
I think we can alert the officers. Is there a certain time of day it's happening? Do you know?
Well, This morning, I was walking my dog about 7:30, and I can tell you it's definitely with the school traffic.
Okay, okay, we'll start there. Maybe you can be more present, is probably more effective means there if they see how a patrol car.
I mean, I was kind of shocked when it started. I was like, really?
Yeah.
But, yeah. And then I just wanted to thank Councilmember Beaton for her 8 years of service and everything she's done for the city.
Thank you.
Mr. Grabowski.
Josh, I don't know if it was this year or last year, we asked you for a list of the tickets that were issued, and you said you were gonna get us what the tickets were and what charges were. We wanted to see what, year to year, what the tickets are being given out.
I don't recall that request. A list of like moving citations, like traffic tickets?
Oh, that and the parking tickets, how many you're giving out of them?
Yeah, we can get that number for,
Fine forfeiture stuff.
yeah. Well, none of that number is forfeiture. I know that for a fact from the police department, but certainly we track those through an Excel spreadsheet. We can get that information to
I thought you
you.
said-
As far as the number of citations.
Yeah. So,
How many years would you like?
well, here you got from 2001 to 3. 3 you got, but you don't have nothing for 21 and 22. But I don't know what the tickets are in that 23.
So to be clear, would you like a list of citations, parking citations? Is that what you're asking?
And the moving and what the arrests were. I'd like to know what your arrests.
We can provide you with all of our arrest logs and our traffic citations. How far back would you like us to go?
Pardon?
How far back would you like us to go?
2 years.
2 years? Okay, certainly.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I had some calls this week about building permits and how that's handled now. Did we put any kind of public notice out about Safe Built not being our people that are handling all that yet?
I don't know if we have, but I can get an answer.
Yeah, because I think we need to let people know what's going on now and how to get permits, and if people are very confused. Now that we have someone in-house and.
Yeah. So Councilmember Panic, I know it's all been updated on the website, and there is something going out in the winter tax newsletter that will address, it'll address all of that. But I don't know if, do you know, Josh, if there's been anything put on social media?
I don't know, but we can check. What I'm hearing is that we need to do a better job publicizing that and letting the public know it's an in-house and what the process. Absolutely.
That's not my
Sure.
take, so. And then, so the upgrades to First Street and Maple Street intersection, that's not gonna happen? Or is that still gonna happen with the bridge?
We have been working with that contractor, and they have been patiently trying to find the window. We need at least 2 to 3 weeks without the detour in place. So unfortunately, that's going to have to be deferred till probably April. But they have all the materials, they're ready to go. We need the gap in that bridge project.
Right, okay.
That's it. Mr. Bachman.
I got 3 things. Number 1, I thought trick or treating was a little late till 8 o'clock, maybe 6 to 7:30 or 5:30 to 7:30, but 8 o'clock seemed like, man, it was dark as hat and a long time, so food for thought. Number 2, I like the new entrance signs of the city. They look really good. I didn't realize they were going in. I was surprised to see them show up, but they do look great. And number 3 is thank you, Linda, for your years of service, and I wish you well in your advocacy going forward, because I know there'll be so.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Beaton.
This stuff, I really loved being on city council. To me, it's been one of the highlights of my life to have done this service. I've never had any issues with giving up my time. It's always made me feel good. I've met so many people. I've had a lot of feedback since the election from people that say, we don't miss you because you always answered our questions. And I hope that they find the same relief going forward with other council members. So I've enjoyed working with all of you, and I wish you happy Thanksgiving and a good year ahead. That's it.
Sloberg.
Well, I wanted to say thank you as well. It's been great serving with you for the short time that I've been on, but thank you for your years of dedication and all the groups and committees you've been on. It's been really great. And Jeff, I'm just noticing that leaves are all over out there. I'm hoping we have a plan. Don't want another last year situation.
We started the leaf haul the week before Halloween, and we haven't stopped picking them up since.
Okay,
So hoping, I mean, there's still a lot of leaves on the trees, there's a lot in people's yards. We need some good stretches of good weather to get them out to the road, but we're picking them up
okay.
on it every day.
Awesome. And that's all I have.
So I just have, Ms. Beaton, thank you for your service on behalf of City Council and City Staff. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.